everybody. This is Marian Cowagowan.
And this is David Owen.
And this is You Show Me Yours, the podcast where a married couple talks about the movies and television that they loved before the first date. And today I was made to watch Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Excellent. Yes, you were. Yes, you were. So if you're not aware, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure is, of course, the 1989 Stephen Herrick directed time-traveling adventure. Before I break this down, so yesterday I was trying to entice our son to watch this because I thought it would be funny to get some of his takes on some of the stuff. And I briefly explained to him what this movie was about, and you seemed shocked. So I'll give the description that I gave, or roughly, and then I want you to tell me, before I said those words, what did you think this movie was about? So here we go.
Okay.
So what I told our son to try to entice him was some version of, it's about a couple of rock and roll stoner metalhead high school dudes whose music will go on to bring world peace unless they fail their history class. So they go on a time traveling adventure to learn about history and stay together.
Yeah.
Prior to that, what did you think this movie was about?
I don't know. Like last week I said I just know that they have goofy names and there's an Iron Maiden joke.
Yeah.
I don't think I knew the mechanism that resulted in them having to time travel.
Yeah.
And even after having seen the movie, the idea that their music brings about world peace is a little far-fetched, although it did take 600 plus years. So
yes,
you know, there's that. Yeah, I don't know what I thought this movie was.
Right.
But not that plot.
Right.
Well, also, this has one of my least favorite time travel tropes, which is your older self, or your future self does something to help.
Yes, and
and like the loop happens several times.
We'll talk about that. Let's not. We'll talk about that and how it also relates to the second movie as we go.
Oh boy, okay.
But not necessarily. We'll talk about it more on the episode for the second movie. So that's actually one of my favorite time travel tropes because it's the best sort of lazy writing. But we'll talk about it more. Yeah, so if you've never seen Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, that's essentially what it's about. It's about these two California dudes. They go to San Dimas High, and they are just these, most people, I don't actually know if my wife had this experience, but most people who went to school had an experience with cliques, right? Like at my school, we had metalheads and rednecks. We had preps and, jocks. They are just the stoners / rock dude, metal dudes.
Mm-hmm.
They love music. They celebrate everything with the sweet air guitar solo.
Yes.
And they are in danger of failing history. And if they fail history, then one of the two, again, their names, as we mentioned at the end of last episode, it's Bill S. Preston Esquire and Ted Theodore Logan. And if Ted fails, his dad's going to send him to military school.
In Alaska.
And so you get you get a sort of a beginning, a setup at the beginning of the movie that from Rufus, who is played by George Carlin, with dyed hair and beard.
That was fantastic.
R.I.P.
George Carlin.
Yes. This might be the first time I encountered George Carlin as a kid. I definitely watched the George Carlin show when that came on in the 90s. But this might be the first time. Like I knew of his stand-up. I probably knew about the Dirty Words bit and stuff. And probably he had been on like Carson and stuff. And I used to stay up late and watch Carson with my grandmother sometimes. But this was probably my first like real exposure to him. I probably recognized him in this movie as that comedian from Carson or something. But yeah, this was like my first real exposure.
He's kind of a straight man.
Yeah, totally.
He's not. I mean, like if you didn't know who he was, you'd be like, okay, that's some dude. All right.
Yeah, it's kind of just cool casting.
Yeah.
More than anything.
Yeah.
So you are told that basically they are responsible for the world peace in the future, 600 years from now or whatever. And of course, that's not going to happen if they don't pass their history class. And so Rufus travels back in time with a phone booth, and then that can travel through the circuits of time.
Yes.
And then this allows Bill and Ted to go on a time-trotting adventure, and they decide the best way to pass their class, which is a final report, a presentation,
Given to the entire school,
given,
it seems.
Sure, yeah. Is to kidnap a bunch of historical figures, and because the assignment is, what would these historical figures think about today? So they literally just have the idea to kidnap these historical figures, expose them to the San Dimas of 1988, which is when the movie's technically set, released in 89, but doesn't matter. And then just put them on stage and have them say what they thought.
Yes, even the ones who don't speak English.
Yes.
Apparently, this is totally going to work.
Some of this poorly thought out because several of these don't speak English. But so they do that. They go and, of course, as you do, a few things happen along the way. But that's essentially the plot of the movie. And they do, in fact, spoilers, they do, in fact, pass their history class and they get an A+, and the future is history maintains intact, and they do, in fact, go on to bring world peace. After another significant encounter that we will be watching in the next episode, which is Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Okay.
But that one actually will explain effectively how their music brings not just world peace on Earth, but galactic peace.
I did notice that. Yeah.
Yes, and it will explain that.
Okay. Well, I look forward to the very logical and not at all exaggerated or nonsensical explanation.
And it definitely won't be a historical paradox that's created by the by the method upon which they bring world peace to the future, which allows the technology to time travel to exist.
No, I'm sure it will be completely logical,
of course, as this entire movie is.
Yeah.
Before we get rolling, just a minute on Stephen Herek. Herek, I believe is how you say it. Herek. Herek.
Like Socrates, there are probably many ways you can pronounce it.
Socrates. So. One of the chief gags that is super effective in this movie is that they mispronounce basically everybody's name except for Joan of Arc and Billy the Kid, pretty much. And I guess they don't really mispronounce Napoleon, but yeah, just great. But Herek he will feature on this podcast certainly at least one more time. He started out his career by directing the movie Critters. Have you seen Critters?
No.
I know you haven't seen Critters.
No.
Critters, great. Just an 80s horror movie.
It's not Tremors, is it?
Nope.
It's not Gremlins.
You'll also be watching Tremors.
Okay.
No, it is sort of it's sort of one of those things. It's that kind of turning a trope on its head. Like, it's these cute, small, kind of cute, once they like bare their teeth or whatever, you see they're not cute, but like little puffball things that look like they would be adorable, but they're actually murderous.
Like cats.
Yeah, like cats.
Yeah.
Just like cats. But also he directed that Three Musketeers movie with Kiefer Sutherland and Charlie Sheen.
Oh, man.
And Oliver Platt.
That I somehow did not see, even though that was smack in my, what is it, like 90, 96?
93.
Yeah.
93.
Yes.
So you would have been perfect for that.
Should have walked up to the theater window, smacked down my babysitting money.
Right.
Mostly in quarters. And said, give me the movie with the hot men, please.
Right. I want 3 tickets to back-to-back shows.
Yeah.
But yeah, also he directed Mr. Holland's Opus.
Wow, that is a range.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And he's still working today, it looks like. I mean, he directed that 101 Dalmatians movie with Glenn Close.
Oh.
In it. And
that's a nice contribution.
A lot of involvement with MacGyver. But like modern MacGyver. Like in 2003, he directed a TV movie called Young MacGyver.
Wow.
And then went on to direct some episodes of the new MacGyver show.
Wow.
Recently.
Okay, sidebar for a second. One of the fears that I have that is buried rather deep in my brain, like it's not a Roman Empire type thing, but I'm always afraid that the MacGyver actor is going to turn out to be a douche.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not going to be able to like MacGyver even ironically.
Yeah.
So I just keep waiting for him to come out as a huge MAGA head, or he beats his wife, or, something, because that's just what life as a Gen Xer is. All your childhood idols turn out to be terrible people.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of universal. I think that happens to a lot of people because some people just get more conservative as they get older.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like, was it Richard Dean Anderson?
Yeah.
I feel like if he came out as horrible, I just wouldn't care. You know, like like the fact that he is now that way wouldn't stop me from consuming something that he did when I was a child. You know, like,
I don't know.
I wouldn't
feel
watch his MacGyver reunion show if that happened, but
maybe. I don't know. I feel a little gross about watching, say, Growing Pains because Kirk Cameron turned out to be
True. But at the same time, yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's almost you're letting them rob you of that. I feel like I'm robbing them. You know, like you're not actually getting any money from this. Like I'm watching this on Prime or Netflix or something that I subscribe to for a totally different reason. And, you are getting like a nickel, regardless of whether I watch this or not, you're probably getting paid, some 1,000th of a penny
I
or
think
something.
They're getting 1/1000th of a penny more if you watch it, but sure.
Maybe. I don't
minuscule.
I don't know
Sure.
anything about how Netflix works.
Anyway, so he's MacGyver adjacent. Okay.
Yeah, like he directed episodes of Hawaii Five-0, apparently a failed Rush Hour TV show that existed.
Oh, that didn't seem necessary.
Yeah, and 11 episodes of the MacGyver TV series. Yeah, I mean he just kept working, and he's also produced 62 episodes of the new MacGyver television show. So yeah, he's in there.
Did we ever watch any of that? I don't think we did.
I don't think so. No,
we showed our teenager the part of the pilot of the old MacGyver, and you and I watched the reboot of Quantum Leap.
Yeah, for a couple episodes.
And I don't know why we stopped. It wasn't bad. It was just different. But
I don't know.
we never got into the new MacGyver. I don't know why.
Grab us. So anyway, the Stephen Herek, just a versatile director. We bump into a lot of these, especially in 80s movies like this. Also, this is a Dino De Laurentiis joint. You may remember him from such hits as Flash Gordon. That production company was just out there making these sort of movies. Like they're almost like, if you think of the baseball system, you've got the majors, then you've got, then it goes AAA, AA, single A.
Mm-hmm.
They're like AAA movies, right? Like they're going to get released in theaters. They have a production budget. Like RoboCop is one of those. Like they have a budget, but it's not Universal putting it out. It's not Paramount. They're not A tier, high tier pieces, but they like make the world go round.
Mm-hmm.
And now that sort of stuff is what kind of goes directly to DVD. Not to say there are still sort of what I would consider AAA, or minor leagues is kind of insulting, but not mainline companies, production companies. Yeah. And then you've got the production companies like the Fox that makes Fox Searchlight and stuff. Like everybody's got their own like quote unquote indie label, so it all becomes really hard to track these days. But in the 80s, it was just you had the legacy studios, MGM, and all that stuff. And I think technically MGM has their hands in this movie on some level, as probably a distributor. But yeah, you had guys like De Laurentiis who were just like, you got $5 million and go, and stuff like that. Like you didn't have to really run through all the red tape, and it's not as low down as your B movie type stuff, like your Roger Corman stuff that is shoestring budget and, exploitation adjacent sort of stuff. But yeah, these kind of movies still exist. So to say I miss them is not accurate because they do still exist. But I just felt like in the 80s, a movie like this could stand right beside the biggest, holiday release, summer release, and go kind of toe to toe. And people are just as likely to know this as they are to know whatever other big movie came out in '89 that was put out by Universal or Paramount or whatever. Whereas now that stuff gets a little bit more hidden.
Well, it's a different distribution system.
Yeah.
So you don't come up against it in the same context.
So one of the main things that I put down, so let me real quickly. So they go through history and they grab the figures, historical figures, and just to keep everybody in the know here, we got Napoleon, Billy the Kid, Socrates, Froude, Sigmund Freud, Miss of Arc, Joan of Arc, Abraham Lincoln, Genghis Khan, and Beethoven. These are the figures that they kidnap. And again, the joke, Beef Oven, Socrates, Frood, like it's evergreen in this movie, and I love it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get old at any point.
And then somehow at the end, though, they magically know how to pronounce the names. But okay.
Yeah, they figured out.
Yeah, sure.
At the end, the movie, their final presentation, it gets a little more serious, and they kind of knock it in, hit the home run at the end.
Kind of got Billy Madison vibes, actually, like complete dolt, and then pulls it together at the end, and you don't really know how, but
yeah. Well, what you
we need a triumphant moment, so okay,
they learned it, somehow. This movie is full of great fun. Like it's got funny parts all throughout, and it's got sort of parts that are just like dumb, and they don't, like, this movie does not require you to do a bunch of thought. And if you in fact, if you do think, you're going to ruin it. Yes, I have seen hour-long YouTube videos about how the time travel works in this movie, and how it doesn't work, and all this sort of stuff.
Oh no.
And it's you don't want to go, like, there are movies like Primer is a movie about time travel that we will watch someday on this podcast. And that's a movie where you want to analyze the time travel, because it's such a part of the movie, and is so much thought was put into it, and it actually kind of works in a way.
Okay.
This movie, it just
Not
doesn't
so
matter. Like,
No.
So there's the guardrails that are sort of put on time travel for this movie are very, very little. There's no worry about introducing like anachronistic things into time periods. There's no worry about bringing these figures. Rufus literally just gives him the time machine, is like, do whatever. Because as far as Rufus is concerned, like, these are the saviors of the world. So how can they do anything, do any wrong?
And there's no problem with the space-time continuum.
Right.
So meeting your past self doesn't require.
There's no Back to the Future. Don't meet yourself. There's no whatever Simpsons Treehouse of Horror. Don't even step on a mosquito, because that could change the future.
No,
there's none of that at all. The only guardrail put on it is that essentially, from the moment that you enter the time machine for the first time, that is effectively, I guess, your home time. And again, I'm even already overthinking it more than they did when they made the movie.
Yeah.
And time continues to move there. So if you've got, they've got let's say 24 hours, whatever it is, 10 hours, whatever it is, I don't know, until their assignment is due, till their presentation. That's the amount of real time they have to travel through time, because their assignment is going to happen for them in their home timeline 24 hours from when they get the time machine, 12 hours from when they get the time machine. So that's their guardrail. Like, you only have a set amount of time, even though you can kind of play with that time a little bit by doing what we were talking about at the beginning, by going back and leaving stuff for yourself after you win. There's this great conceit that like, when we're done and everything's successful, we'll just go back and we'll suspend this trash can in midair that will fall on my dad's head right at the right moment.
Yeah.
We'll go back and we'll do a recording on a tape recorder that will somehow start playing at just the right second, and
we'll
it's
go and
great.
leave the keys there that we need at this moment.
Yes.
Blah, blah,
and
blah.
It's great. And they plant that seed, like, right at the beginning of the movie. Ted's dad is missing his keys. And, then it comes all the way back around full circle, and Ted is finally like, I guess it was me who stole my dad's keys. Whoa. At the very end. And it's the laziest writing, but like, this is the movie for that, if nothing else. And in the second movie, they will do a similar thing where at the end of the movie, they will be, they will start saying, like, well, when we win, we'll do this.
Yeah.
And then this and this, which helps to sort of expedite the finale of the second movie, I guess, the same way it does this movie.
It does fit with the ethos here much more than in, say, the Harry Potter movie where they did that.
Yeah.
Which I expect more from Harry Potter, or maybe I don't. I don't know.
Maybe you shouldn't.
Yeah.
You did, but you shouldn't.
Yeah. Yeah. Can I, speaking of dumb fun, my absolute favorite joke of the entire thing is when they go to get Beethoven
Yeah,
and he's playing the piano and there's a whole salon of people sitting around, and the phone booth lands and makes a lot of noise and everybody turns to see what it is except for Beethoven. Oh my God.
Because of course he's deaf.
And they don't say anything about it. Just if you know, you know, oh my God. It was
he's
fantastic.
the only one that doesn't notice.
I loved it.
Yeah, yeah. And this movie that's one of the things. So one of the things I wrote up here that you scoffed at was that I wrote this movie secretly smart / educational because of stuff like that. You know, like
smart is a strong word for that.
There are little things in this movie, right? Like, so the conceit is that at the end they take all these figures back to their timelines, right? And some of them will have already done the things that they're historically famous for, and some of them won't have done those things yet. And one of the things that I love that happens in this movie is when they're so a plot point that needs to be said here. So this movie is just a big grand adventure movie. It just everything's happening and it's going a mile a minute. All of the figures are brought to the mall, the historical figures, so that they can get an idea of what San Dimas 1988 is all about. Because Bill and Ted need to go look for Napoleon. Who is at a water park and called what?
Called Waterloo.
Yes, called Waterloo. Which is great. Again, another smart joke.
Well, I'll put it this way. They're jokes that you will get if you are smart. They're not jokes that will make you smart.
No.
This is not educational as in it will teach you something.
It does. It gives you a little bit of that. A little bit of the historical sort of context for these people, but very, very little. I'm not claiming that I would show this in a school. Anyway, so as they're all there at the mall trying to learn about modern day San Dimas, and Bill and Ted go off to find Napoleon, they all get into shenanigans. Mm-hmm. They do all these different things, and they all end up getting arrested. All the historical figures.
Yeah.
And Ted's dad is a cop, and that leads to we'll leave this stuff at the end when we win. We'll go back and we'll leave all this stuff, and they break them out. But when they come to break them out, and they get to the cells, Joan of Arc is on her knees praying, and Bill and Ted appear through the door, and she looks up and seems to say thank you, and then crosses herself.
Yeah,
just this, because Joan of Arc is famous, of course, for having this unshakable faith.
Right.
And here is an answered prayer right in front of us. And I'm just like, oh, I see what you did there. Again, not a laugh out loud funny moment, and not the movie doesn't make a big deal out of it. It's just one of those little things. Another one that I love is Socrates and Billy the Kid kind of team up. They kind of become a duo because they're two of the first ones that are taken with Bill and Ted, and they're traveling with them the whole time. So at one point they save them from execution in medieval England, which has your favorite. This is a scene with your favorite line, the line that you know.
The Iron Maiden.
Put them in the Iron Maiden. Excellent. So they are at the mall and they're kind of hanging out. They're macking on these two chicks, and they go up to them and they're trying to put their moves on. And Freud comes up and he's holding a corn dog.
Yes.
And as he's talking to them and they're rejecting him, the corn dog slowly droops the corn dog.
I did notice that.
It's stuff like that. When I say like that, this movie has an intelligence to it that it goes beyond a couple of stoners sitting in their apartment going, what if we made a movie where like two guys like us encountered a bunch of historical figures? That'd be so funny.
Sure. There are smart jokes if you are smart enough to get them.
Yeah. And like Napoleon he cheats at everything. He cheats at bowling. He's very petty.
Yeah.
All of that stuff, like all of it. Like it's just a very, like someone put this is the sort of movie where someone could get away with making this movie without putting any thought into it, but someone put a good amount of thought into it.
Okay, fair. I'll give you that.
Yeah, and that's just one of those things that I really like about this movie. But yeah, so it is a movie that's kind of its time. That's one of the things that I did want to talk about, and one of the reasons that I wanted our son to watch it. Earlier, I said, I talked about them not caring about bringing anachronistic things back, like this movie watched in modern times has a lot of things that feel anachronistic today. First of all, the phone booth, just that unto itself, payphones still exist. There are some at the airport. Like,
are there?
Yeah.
Are they functional?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah. Well, okay, I should say I have seen payphones at the airport when I've dropped you off, and I've seen people on them.
I think there are payphones and there are phone booths, but not necessarily.
Right. No.
The phone booths are usually, I need to make a private call on my cell. Let me go in there and do that.
Yeah. They're like kiosks for, and then you get into things like the like nice wooden sit down little phone nooks that places would have that had, a light in them and a seat, and you could close the door and like make a business call and like
you could take notes. On
which was even gone like when I was a kid. Like there weren't a lot of these like really nice phone booths that were in nice restaurants and stuff.
No.
But yeah, phone booths, just a totally foreign concept, like it bad for this, but also bad for the Colin Farrell movie Phone Booth.
That was at like the tail end of when you could make that movie.
It's literally about the last phone booth in New York City.
Okay.
So like it's that's part of the plot that like, a phone booth. Weird that there's a phone booth, right? Because it's the last one. It's like they're going to decommission this phone booth, and that's part of the plot.
Okay. I've seen that, but I don't remember that. Okay.
It's like not part of the plot. They mention it, I think.
Okay.
And the mall as the place to go to get an idea of culture.
That is extremely of its time. Yeah. And the fact that everybody is there.
Yes.
Like, I mean, the mall is still operating in my hometown, but nobody goes there.
Yeah. Like, I mean, we have a mall here in Charlotte, not too far from us. And people go there. Like I was there a few months ago, but
mostly you hear about shooting there or human trafficking.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. But it's not the place that the teens go anymore.
No.
Like,
I don't know where the teens go, but not the mall.
Yeah.
I don't think they go anywhere.
They go into the virtual reality.
Ew.
They go to metaverse.
Ew.
And they all meta each other.
Oh God, that's ew. Please stop. Please stop.
But yeah, I would have liked his reaction, but trying to get him to sit down for a movie and podcast on a day off school is a pretty big ask for him.
Well, he's gotten the mall stuff from Stranger Things, so
he's at least aware. Yeah. But yeah, that would have been a fun conversation to have. But so it's stuff like that, like watching these movies, and this movie is 35 years old.
Holy smokes.
So, that's not an insignificant amount of time. But yeah, just fun to see that sort of stuff. And of course, there's always going to be the cars are old cars. Bill and Ted casually drop the F slur.
Yeah, that was, what is it? They hug.
They hug each other.
Bill thought that Ted was dead, and then they hug, and they immediately,
which, it just passes through. It's like, it's not to say it's the one objectionable thing about this movie. I'm sure you could analyze, like, Genghis Khan grabs a servant girl and starts kissing her.
Yes, the treatment of women in general, not great.
I don't know. Miss of Arc gets a pretty good,
Miss of Arc, but the stepmom, although that does make room for a joke about an
Oedipal complex.
Oedipus, Electra. Oedipus is men and their father
and their mother. I don't know. Anyway,
I don't remember. Oedipus. I think.
Either way,
maybe.
I'm going to assume that they got it right because they got so much other stuff right.
Okay.
Missy is great. You'll see Missy again in the sequel.
Okay.
You'll see several characters again. It'll be fun. I don't want to spoil anything for the sequel.
That's kind of nice when it's a whole world and then a lot of the world comes back and it's not just
it's
these two characters completely from scratch.
Yes, and they're just good jokes that are that reward you for having been a fan of the first movie.
Yeah.
Like you'll see. It's gonna be good.
Okay. Speaking of other characters where there's a world created and then the world comes back. Every time they said excellent or party on, I kept thinking of Wayne's World.
Yeah, which you should.
Is that okay?
Because effectively Wayne's World is aping this dynamic, right?
Oh, and is that why the
Well, no, that's like a dream. That's them doing a dream sequence thing.
Okay.
And it's kind of a, I wouldn't even say that Wayne's World is aping this because Mike Myers was doing Wayne's World on like literally doing Wayne's World on some Canadian variety show.
Okay.
I think before they are both
from the same well.
They are both referencing the same type of California dude that existed in the same way that if you had two different characters, two different franchises or something doing a Valley Girl character, one is that were sort of contemporary. One isn't necessarily aping the other. They are both mimicking the characters of the day.
As with many, many, many things in Hollywood, there's only so many ideas, and sometimes two people have the same idea at the same time.
Yes, and Bill and Ted are 100% Wayne and Garth, adjacent characters. They are both more like two Waynes, because Garth is very intentionally a weird sort of character.
Yes.
Which is great. I love Garth and the Wayne and Garth dynamic.
I definitely relate to Garth for sure.
But yes, they are pulling straight from the same, these guys, they like Iron Maiden, they like they like Ozzy, they like Van Halen, it's all like they would
delusions of grandeur, even though they can't really play instrumental. The Wayne and Garth can actually play, right?
A little bit. Garth's a drummer. I mean, if the movie is any evidence, Garth is a wonderful drummer. He does a whole solo in the store.
They do diverge in that Bill and Ted here did not make a Abraham Lincoln joke.
Yes,
and they had all the tools to do it. So there's that at least.
Yeah. But I don't know where we were. What were we talking
about? I always like to look at sort of background casting, who plays the secondary and tertiary characters, and the only one that made me giggle in this movie was Joan of Arc is Jane, was it Weidland? I don't know, from the Go-Go's, which just made me giggle.
Oh yeah. I knew that, but until you said it, I didn't remember that.
I saw her in the credits and I was like, who is she? Will I recognize her? And then I was like, oh yes.
Yeah,
okay.
I just remember when I was a kid just thinking it was Winona Ryder. Winona Ryder.
Yeah.
Just that was just in my kid head, like they couldn't tell people apart. But I think this movie is one of the movies, along with The Matrix, that is largely responsible for people not thinking Keanu Reeves is a super intelligent guy in general, like thinking that he is his characters.
Yeah.
Like they're typecasting this guy to play a dumb guy. Maybe he is a dumb guy.
I feel like there were a lot of others where he played a dumb guy. Like he sort of had an arc, and
the way that he played Jonathan in Dracula, was very like, it was like Ted Theodore Logan as Jonathan Harker.
And there's a lot in Point Break where he's 100%. Kind of a dumb guy.
100%.
And I think just maybe age has taken the earnestness out of him. And I guess John Wick is supposed to be just sort of tired and
yes,
doesn't really want to be killing anybody, but has to. And so just age makes him that, which does not sound quite as dumb. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
and I don't know that we'll get the opportunity to, but for the podcast, but we definitely should as a couple watch the third movie, because watching him reprise Ted as 50-some-year-old Keanu is pretty funny.
Oh gosh. Yeah, it's fascinating to look at his arc because he was just sort of a dumb surfer guy, very pretty and stupid, and then all of a sudden now he's like the internet's favorite person. Like he can do no wrong, et cetera, et cetera. And also he's also like, if he ever turns out to have kicked a puppy or anything, I will be so upset.
No, he's like, he is like the pinnacle. Like, people show pictures of how when he poses with fans, like female fans, he puts his arm around them, but he doesn't touch them. He like touch their waist. He's just giving people their space. There's a version of that you can spin into, like, he just doesn't want some woman to accuse him of sexual harassment, so he just doesn't even touch him at all. Which is just, I don't think his motivations at all. But if you want to be that cynical, like, please go.
But you know what? Even though that's fine too. Like, I wouldn't want to accidentally do something.
Yes. I mean, I'm just saying you can assign an ulterior motive to his, that it's not just out of kindness. It is,
CYA.
Women be crazy, like that kind of thing, I was so one of the things that I did write down was that there's some great quotes in this movie. There's some very famous ones for me, sort of within my circles.
Okay.
Do you remember anything that stood out? The Iron Maiden.
Oh,
of course.
not real. I mean, like when they said them, I was like, oh yeah, that's a thing, but not
and then
that I remembered.
There's stupid ones. What number are we thinking of?
Yeah.
69.
Yeah.
You know, one of the ones for me, there's a band that people will know from their cover of Boys of Summer called the Ataris. They had a song called San Dimas High School Football Rules. So that's always
that's great.
That's always one that I remember. Yeah, and there's other things like the Missy, I mean mom, you know, just back and forth. It's like it's for me a bunch of quotes that I remember and stuff like that are not even necessarily like significant for anybody else, but yeah, stuff like San Dimas High School Football Rules, and then Abraham Lincoln's speech is great at the end, you know, and everybody constantly parroting the line, you'd be excellent to each other.
Yes.
Yeah, like just dumb stuff, but fun.
Now that you mention it, I think the Abe Lincoln speech gives me Clueless vibes.
Yeah.
When Cher is talking about we could everyone just smush together and make room for the Haitians, like trying to be profound and just really it's not working. And Bill and Ted give me what's the guy's name? Travis Birkenstock vibes. Or he gives Bill and Ted vibes, I guess.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank the workers at McDonald's for making the delicious Egg McMuffin, without which I might never be tardy.
Yeah.
I think I got that pretty close.
Pretty close. And when when they're in class before they do their time travel, and Bill is trying to describe everything he can about
Napoleon. Old, dead.
Okay. Yeah. It seems to me the only thing you've learned is that Caesar is the salad dressing dude. You know, that's I'm just glancing at the quotes on IMDb. Yeah,
this is a very comprehensive history class, though. If they went from Caesar and Socrates all the way to Freud, that's my history class is always, well, because I went to a Catholic school, we did a lot on like the Holy Roman Empire and all that stuff, but we inevitably stopped sometime between the Civil War and World War II. It got to be May and my teachers were just like, oh, whatever, it's fine. So the whole 20th century just didn't happen.
Nice. Yeah. I don't know how much else we really need to talk about. I mean, this isn't a movie for which I did like a lot of research or anything. Like sometimes I do a deep dive and I want to have like some fun facts, but like this movie is just dumb and fun. Like,
okay.
Yeah, like what did you?
Well, here's a question. So last time when you were telling me that we were going to watch this, I said something about, you know, Keanu Reeves had a career after this, Alex Winter, not so much. And you were like, no, he actually did, blah, 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 blah. But it's not to the extent that Keanu Reeves did. What happened with the two of them? Why did Keanu go on to more things, if not great things?
Yeah, I don't know.
And Alex Winter certainly did fewer things.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I wonder if it is just if it's just a matter of Keanu got the breaks, you know? Like he got the right things fell in place for him. Like, you know, Winter continued to work sporadically.
Okay.
You know, every few years, like just looking at him on IMDb. So the other movie that we will watch for this podcast of his is Freaked.
Okay, I don't know what that is.
Which is great. You will though.
Oh, great.
But yeah, like after this, he just went on. Of course, he's in The Lost Boys.
Okay.
Before this, and several other things. You know, TV parts. He was on The Equalizer, the show that the
old one, or
the new movies are based on.
Okay.
But yeah, like, you know, he does the sequel in 91, Freaked in 93, and then it just sort of he just sort of gets stuff sporadically throughout. I don't know if he had a thing, if something happened. He gets into voice work in the early 2000s.
And then he just shows up, concerned dad on ER, concerned dad on Grey's Anatomy,
That sort of stuff. Yeah, like
concerned dad on Chicago Med.
and he actually, I think he may have that sort of fame that precludes him from doing a lot of that stuff because he really doesn't have a lot of that.
Yeah.
He's on an episode of Bones in 2007. But yeah, he started doing a lot of voice work, which I think he has a recognizable face. I think he's got the other side of the whatever. I don't know what's the
well said.
Yeah. He's got the other side of the cookie. Like, I don't know. What's something that has one good side and one bad side?
Pizza. I don't know.
Pizza. Yeah. Like he's got the other side of the ice cream cone. Like he's got the cone end of the ice cream cone. He gave him the cone. He got waffled. Which, all right. Which is to say, that he had a role that made him famous, and it made him too famous.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like
he's kind of in the donut hole of fame.
well,
too much to do this and not enough to do that.
You know, a lot of actors talk about this, right? Like Henry Winkler, it took him getting into his like 50s and stuff to start popping up in stuff again after the Fonz.
Yeah.
You know, there are people for whom Ron Howard, essentially stopped acting because he was either Opie or Richie Cunningham or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So you get these things, and just like, I'm sure, like, don't know what his actual story is, but somebody like Jonathan Taylor Thomas, who just becomes too famous, and you never want someone to be watching a movie and seeing Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
Yeah.
Like you want them to be seeing the character. And I think really, really famous people who do that well, somebody like Keanu Reeves even, or Johnny Depp or something, like I know Johnny Depp has his troubles or whatever.
Yes,
but
we don't.
That was just a name that came to mind. Because, I can't watch a movie these days with Tom Cruise in it without just thinking, oh, it's Tom Cruise. It's Mission Impossible Tom Cruise. It's whatever Tom Cruise.
Look how they shot him so he doesn't look short, Tom Cruise.
Yeah, like, maybe he just fell into that. But yeah, I mean, he's in this role. Both of these guys are acting like they can't really act, but they're doing like looking the way that Bill and Ted, that Alex and Keanu look in this movie actually takes more skill than you think.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Which I think can sometimes get you kind of, pigeonholed, that like, oh, well, that guy can't do serious acting because he's comedic, or he's just good at playing a doofus. And Keanu broke out of that. Maybe Alex Winter never did. I don't know. But Freaked, we will definitely be watching Freaked.
Oh, goody. Okay.
It's Bill and Ted. I mean, this movie is definitely it's fun. So it's a big recommend for me. What did you think overall?
Yeah, it's fun. I've seen it. I never need to see it again, but
never.
No, I mean,
come on.
I'm fine. I do appreciate the deaf Beethoven joke.
Yes, the deaf Beethoven joke. You got, Napoleon at Waterloo. And
I am having to read some Greek stuff for school right now, so the multiple pronunciations of Socrates is just tickling my funny bone.
Socrates.
Yeah.
And they and just this dumb stuff, like, they're trying to communicate with Socrates, and they quote Kansas, Dust in the Wind.
Yeah.
It's chef's kiss.
I kind of want to hear Socrates's version of this tale when he gets back.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, yo, Plato, here's what happened.
Yeah.
And Plato's like, you've been smoking too much of something.
And I just love a movie like this that can just be like, we don't care. One of the things that they say Joan of Arc is going to do is institute aerobics classes, because when she's in the mall, she commandeers an aerobics class and takes it over. Like, who cares? Like, you don't even need to show me like an altered history book with a picture of Joan of Arc in leg warmers. You don't even need to go that far. Like, I don't care that all that stuff. Yeah. I don't care about the ramifications of Abraham Lincoln, taking a historical photo at a historical photo booth.
Yeah, well, and they had when they're in the mall, a lot of them are doing things that are vaguely related to what they would be doing in their normal life.
Yeah,
Lincoln goes to a photo booth and they take a picture of him, and it's in like an old-fashioned theater
old-timey
seat.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my God, what are they going to do with Joan of Arc? They're not going to light her on fire,
right.
are they? And I'm glad they did not do that, because that got really dark. I feel like the aerobics is more for Jane Whelan, that was her thing, than a Joan of Arc thing.
Yeah.
But they're like, she's petite, she has short hair, it'll work. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't have a whole lot of story. She's just there and taken and then brought back.
And Beethoven starts doing synthesizers and stuff. You know, it's like everybody gets their little moment and goes back to their time frame with their time with knowledge that keyboards exist and aerobics exist and that malls exist and electric lights exist and all these.
But they still have to be assassinated or burned at the stake or executed or whatever. Good times.
And there's no attempt to like forewarn anybody.
No.
And you even wonder if like Bill and Ted even know that Abraham Lincoln gets assassinated. Like if they did, would they?
Well, and they'd take him from 1863, and so he's got a lot of war to fight left.
Yeah,
but
that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's pretty much it. We'll go on to watch the next movie, and we'll maybe have a little more to talk about how some of the threads connect. Between the two movies, but dumb fun is the top line that I wrote on this.
Dumb is the operative word. I frequently say when we watch movies about someone with a particular job or whatever, I say I want to watch this with a surgeon, whatever, to find out what went wrong. No, I don't want to watch this with a historian. That's not the point.
But I also feel like this is one of those movies where, like, not that a time travel scientist is not a thing, but like that I want to watch with a historian or a time travel scientist, because they would probably say, oh, that's my favorite time travel movie, because it just doesn't care about the rules. It's not trying to be so precious about the rules and stuff. And it's just like, you know what? Time travel is cool as a concept.
Yeah.
And we're just going to do it. And we don't need an explanation for it. Like, there's not even an explanation as to how the hell these guys, this phone booth works.
Mm-hmm.
They punch in some numbers and they go through the circuits of time, which literally look like interconnected
and they
phone
have to open
lines.
a phone book to do it. Well, and at one point they have so many people, it's open air. And I was like, oh my God, you guys can't breathe in that thing. Oh wait, this whole concept is, we don't.
Yeah. And I remember I'm thinking, so, they get the idea to bring the historical figures because Napoleon accidentally gets pulled through and he's like behind them.
Yeah.
And when he gets there, he's hanging from a tree and then he's passed out. And I remember thinking, like, in my head, he's probably just feeling the effects of time traveling outside of the booth. And I'm like, no, it's not that kind of movie. Like, nobody thought that hard. Well, he's got time travel sickness.
He's got time travel dementia.
Right. Yes. Just time travel dementia.
But dumb fun is the operative word for this.
So watch it. I think it's a high recommend. The only thing we didn't mention is the princesses, because they will. We will see them again in the sequel.
Okay. Do they get actual names?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I don't remember their names, but they do get actual names.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, they're looking for someone to take from medieval times, and they end up in medieval England, and they meet these two princesses. And then at the end of the movie, again, we were talking about how this movie is not necessarily that bad. Rufus just rewards them with two human beings at the end. Like, oh, you did a great job. You passed your report. You got an A+. Here's a woman for you to have.
Yeah. And the women have been introduced to the mall and credit cards, so they're completely fulfilled.
Yes. Oh, yeah. That's all they need, right?
Yeah.
But I suppose it's for them, it is preferable to having to marry two royal ugly dudes.
I mean, you're not wrong. Right. That's and die in childbirth.
The arranged marriage you choose is better than the arranged marriage you don't choose.
That's true.
Rufus came and said, I have a proposition for you.
Yes.
Bill and Ted's excellent adventure. It was excellent.
Well, folks, we would love to know what you think about this. Are you a historian? And what historical mistakes can you tell?
Is this your favorite historical movie?
Yes. Of all the time travel movies, is
this your favorite one?
Which is the most accurate for you? We'd love to know what you think. You can reach us in a couple different ways. You can send us an email or you can find us on Facebook. Our handle is the same for both. It's YSMY Podcast, YSMY for You Show Me Yours. We're at gmail.com or on Facebook. Also on Facebook, you can find links to our latest episodes. We have new episodes every other Wednesday. So 2 weeks from today, no matter when you're listening, there'll be a new episode up. And our next episode will be in 2 weeks. Dave is hosting again. And remind me what we're watching. I think I know.
Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Part 2.
No, Bogus Journey Part 1.
Part
yes,
2 in the you knew
Bill and Ted
meant.
2, the second movie of the Bill and Ted trilogy. Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
There are 2 parts, and this is number 2.
There are 3 parts, and this is number 2.
Wait, there's 3 parts to the bogus.
No, I'm saying there are 3 Bill and Ted movies. This is the second one.
We rehearsed that, you guys. We did that really, really well.
That is a written comedy bit that we wrote on paper.
Yeah.
Who's on first?
I don't know. It was on second. No.
You just ruined it. You're
I
supposed to be
know.
the straight man.
I know. And I yeah.
We're
Anyway.
We're deconstructing comedy here.
For more cutting edge, hilarious comedy like this, tune in next time for Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. In the meantime, this has been You Show Me Yours. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye. The You Show Me Yours theme song is Uplifting Electronic Indie by Winnie the Moog from filmmusic.io.